Hello guys, welcome back. Let's continue our lecture about the reproductive system. With this one, we are going to look into the female. Let me share my screen. That's this one here. Share. All right, so this is the female reproductive system. So the gonad is the ovary. So ovary has two functions. One is to produce the gametes. The other one is to produce female sex hormone. So that's the key here. Just like a male, you have two testes. Female, you have two ovaries. These locations are in the pelvic cavity. So uh, in the pelvic cavity. Um, and then it produces the oocyte or egg. Egg will then get transported into the fallopian tube. This one is the uterus. The fetus are developed inside of uterus. Egg is transported into the fallopian tube after the ovulation from the ovary, the egg. Then egg will meet with the sperm in the fallopian tube, sperm coming from the vagina, going in here and meet the oocyte here. Then the oocyte will roll down here into the ovary. It must roll down here, otherwise it got stuck here. It's dangerous. It's very bad. And so it needs to roll down here in the ovary, and then in the ovary, this fertilized egg will implant in the uterus, and then it will grow into the baby right here in the uterus. So that's the overall reproductive system. This one is a cervix, and then kind of like closing up a little bit. It's still like completely. Yeah, so that's that. So inside of the ovary, we have the what do we see? We have this structure. Basically, you have the blood supply coming in. So this right here, this ovaries has a ligament to attach it into the pelvic wall, and so blood vessel will come in from the aorta through this ligament, this tube entering into the ovary. And so here you have that blood vessel coming into the ovary. In the ovary, you have the like main portion right here. In the main portion, basically you will see a lot of, we call it follicles. And this one show you the gradual change of this follicle. You see like large ones, smaller ones, small one. You can see like residual one. But this picture is showing you the temporal change of these follicles. So basically you have the very smallest one that's called primordial follicle. Then you can see that they grow bigger right here. Primary follicle, developing follicle, secondary mature follicle, secondary ovum. Ovum is the oocyte, is the egg, is like continually developing. And then here you have each follicle contains this oocyte, or called ovum, or called oocyte, or called egg. And so with this follicle growing or developing, at some point your oocyte will get released. We call this process ovulation. Then this oocyte will get transport or thrown into the fallopian tube. Residual portion, the ruptured or follicle residual portion, will transform or become corpus luteum. Corpus means body, luteum means yellowish. So this yellowish body, corpus luteum, It's important because corpus luteum is the group of cells to produce progesterone and estrogen. They all produce estrogen, but only the corpus luteum also produce progesterone. So corpus luteum then gradually die away. Yeah. So that is all of basically the main thing in the ovaries, that you have a lot of follicle and you also have different kind of follicles. Yeah. So that's that. So key thing here is those follicles. What do you need to know? You need to know that each follicle contains one egg, or called one ovum. It's less commonly called ovum. Ovum is a little bit unique. You can call it oocyte, like primary oocyte. It doesn't really say it here, but people also call it oocyte. Some people just call it egg. Yeah, so you need to know that each follicle contains one of these oocytes. Each follicle also surrounded by several cells. We will look into that. And then the third thing that you need to know is that after ovulation, you generate the corpus luteum. Yeah, that is the journey of these follicles, as well as the variety of the follicle inside of ovary. So this one showing you the journey of the follicle in just those follicles. So you have the beginning. The key thing here is, what is the most original follicle? That is called primordial. You need to know that, primordial, because primordial is a very original one. Female keep the primordial follicle and do not produce any other follicle, just pure primordial follicle, for about a decade. So only until like puberty begins, the female start to produce, to transform some of these, not all, some of these primordial follicle to become the mature one, and they will do it every like month. And so we have the menstrual cycle to keep on producing selectively, not selectively, randomly. Some of those will become matured, and each time some of those will become matured. And yeah, so before puberty, female only has primordial follicle. So, and that for after puberty, female start to have follicular genesis, and this show you the follicular genesis that transform from the primordial follicle to primary to secondary to Graphian. Graphian is the most mature one toward the ovulation. Yeah. So what is inside of the follicle? Inside the follicle, you have one oocyte. So this is the border of that oocyte. So oocyte is very big. You can see that it's very big compared to other cells. This cell is very big. So inside here is a nucleus, but this is a cell membrane. So this is a cell. Surrounding it, you have supporting cells. So in the follicle, in the follicle, the very inner layer, you have the surrounded cell. This surrounded cell is called granulosa cell. Granulosa cells. You have pre-granulosa cell in the primordial, and after the puberty, they grow bigger a little bit, but also grow much bigger. And so you become the mature granulosa cell. So that's the first inner layer. Throughout the folliculogenesis, on top of these granulosa cells, you have another layer of cells, that's theca cells. So you have two supporting cells. One is granulosa, the other one is theca cells. Just like male also have three types of cells: sperm, Sertoli, leadage. In female, you have egg, granulosa doing the supporting portion to the egg, theca cell is the surrounding. Yeah, surrounding it. And these two will work together. Theca cell and the granulosa cell will work together to produce estrogen, to produce the female sex hormone. With that, it also stimulates the oocytes to grow and toward the ovulation. This process is routinely happen every month. So we call this cycle a menstrual cycle for female. So this ovulation doesn't lead to menstruation, the bleeding portion. Ovulation basically to throw the oocytes into the fallopian tubule right here. Throw the oocyte into the fallopian tubule, rolling down into the uterus. It's only when there is no fertilization, meaning that there's no sperm at that time, then there is no implantation. About 2 weeks after the ovulation, you start to see the bleeding, menstruation. So if there is no menstruation, then it indicates there's successful fertilization and implantation. So this one show you this primordial. Primordial is the original one. It's abundant in the ovary. Female has 2 ovary, and each one has about, right here, 500,000 by puberty. All right, so that is a lot. But the amount is fixed, meaning that we will not have, female do not have any more. They just have this amount and less, because every cycle they will maturize some of this, actually about thousands of this, and so the amount is gradually reduced. Yeah. Inside of it, you have the oocyte. That's the terminology that people commonly use. Dormant means that it's not growing. We learned about the cell cycle. Dormant means that it's just stuck there. It doesn't really keep on moving. Yeah. And the surrounding it is the granulosa cell. So you need to know those cells, just like male, you have the Satori and the Leydig. In female, you have granulosa and you have theca cell. Yeah. So here you only have granulosa because it's just primordial. It's not mature yet. Granulosa cell, pre-granulosa. And then after the maturation, right here, maturation, you have the ovulation. What do you need to know? Ovulation, it takes about 14 days from primordial into ovulation. Ovulation is like the middle of this menstrual cycle. 14 days, 2 weeks, ovulation. And then 2 weeks for implantation. If not, then you have menstruation. If menstruation done, then you have another cycle again. So what you need to know is that where does this oocytes go after ovulation? They go into the fallopian tube right here. And another thing is that you need to know is that after ovulation, the remaining portion of the follicles become corpus luteum. And corpus luteum has a function to produce estrogen and progesterone. So female do not have progesterone before ovulation. So before ovulation, there is no corpus luteum, there is no progesterone. But after ovulation, corpus luteum will start to produce progesterone. And progesterone is also, in addition to the estrogen is a primary female sex hormone. Progesterone will do more things. Progesterone function is basically to stabilize the uterus, so easier for implantation and the baby development in the early stage. Yeah. So talking about the uterus is a muscular organ. It has very thick muscle right here. You can see you have muscle. So uterus, just like heart, you have muscle. Heart, you have cardiomyocytes. In the uterus, you have smooth muscle. So here is the uh, cut it open, showing you the uterus. So what you see here is that uterus has 3 layers. Very inner layer, we call it endometrium. Middle layer, we call it myo, means it has muscle, myometrium. The outer layer is called perimetrium, right here. So the inner portion, endometrium, middle portion, myometrium. Myometrium has the muscle. So what do you need to know here? Key thing here is the endometrium, even though it's just the inner portion, but this inner portion is a portion that gradually change because it will get thicker to allow implantation, to provide the environment for fertilized egg to implant. And so it will develop for implantation. If there's no implantation, they will shed away, get shed away. You will have menstruation, meaning there is bleeding out of this uterus. Yeah. So this is a layer, you have the shedding, you have the menstruation. Yeah. So that's what you need to know. Here showing you the change of this endometrium. So here you have the endometrium. Endometrium is the primary region. You see the change throughout the menstrual cycle. So in the menstrual cycle, you have the primordial follicle develop, follicogenesis, it develop toward ovulation. About 14 days, you have the ovulation. Ovulation will lead to the oocytes travel down to the, right here, oocytes travel down to the fallopian tube into the uterus. And if there is implantation, then there will be no menstruation. After ovulation, the remaining portion of the follicle become corpus luteum. Corpus luteum is important because it produces, in addition to estrogen, it produces progesterone. Progesterone stabilizes the uterus. If there's no implantation, during that time, your endometrium grow. But if there's no implantation, then this growing layer in the endometrium will get shed away. And so you have get shed away by 28 days, 2 weeks after the ovulation. If there is no implantation, then it gets shed away. You have the menstruation. So that summarizes the menstrual cycle. So what do you need to know here? First is that menstrual cycle takes about a month, about 28 days. Second is that in the uterus, where does this blood coming from for the menstruation? The blood comes from or blood tissue. Actually, it's not just the blood; it's blood tissues coming from the endometrium of the uterus. So that's that. And yeah, so when you see when the female is pregnant, you see a doctor. Doctor will usually want to kind of estimate when is the fertilized egg. What is the date that fertilized egg begin? Because doctor want to estimate that 9 months after that is about uh, your delivery time or delivery day. So they need to estimate when is your first day of this fertilization. And then she will ask, when is your last menstruation? And so you say that, okay, that is this day, last menstruation. And so it can estimate that, okay, maybe 14 days after your last menstruation will be around 14 to around like 20 days after that menstruation will be around the date you have your fertilization. Yeah. So that can be estimated. So here show you the ovulation. So terminology here, ovulation is to deliver the oocytes into the fallopian tube. Fertilization is ovulation. You need to know that term. Fertilization meaning that oocytes meet the sperm. Location, where is that? In the fallopian tube. Terminology is fertilization. So fertilization right here, fertilization is that. And then you have third term is called implantation right here. Implantation. So implantation is that when a successful fertilization occur, this fertilized egg will quickly growing already, divided, and then rolling into the uterus. And then they will implant in the uterus, implantation. With that implantation, you start to build the placenta. Placenta is the interface between these new individual and the mother. Here, give you some terminology. Here you have the corpus luteum. We know that already. After the fertilization, cells start to divide. So in the very early, it takes about a week to less than 10 days for the implantation. So if about like 10 days without implantation, you start to see menstruation. So when cell divided through this rolling into the implantation into the uterus, cell will, we call this, is called morula. That is about 8 cells, compact morula inside of this structure. So the entire thing is not growing, but the cell amount is increasing. We will also later see the blastocyst. That is the group of these cells. You start to see it create the fluid space right here, fluid space inside of it. So the entire thing is called blastocyst. This blastocyst has inner layer, inner cell mass right here, inner cell mass, and the trophocectoderm right here. Blastocoel is the region, is the cavity where you have the fluid start to accumulate. But you have two types of cell, trophocectoderm and inner cell mass. This tropho means like nutrients. Trophocectoderm will then attach into the mother. Trophocectoderm will start to secrete enzyme to break down the environment, allowing these blastocysts to implant. In the same time, it will also change the mother size to work together to generate the interface that is the placenta to allow these blastocyst right here, blastocyst to get implant into the endometrium layer of the placenta of the uterus. Yeah. And then here you have the inner cell mass. Inner cell mass will start to generate two layers. You have the epiblast and the hypoblast. You have two layers, and that two layer will later become 3 layer. And that 3 layer is the germ layer that we mentioned earlier when we talked about tissue. You have the endoderm, mesoderm, ectoderm. Yeah, so the human body it starts from that 3 layer. And so that is the beginning of your pregnancy or your or each individual basically in mother's uterus. All right, so that's that. So after the implantation, the uh, this embryo start to develop. Uh, it built. There is a fluid surrounding it, and it also built the interface between the endometrium. So you can see that here is the endometrium. What I want you to get your attention is that it's actually embedded inside here. Here is the endometrium. So it's entirely covered by endometrium. The bottom is endometrium, the top is endometrium. The entire thing is endometrium right here. So that's the endometrium. So even though the top thing here is very thin, but it's still inside of the endometrium. So it's not hanging in the uterus. It's embedded. It's well protected inside of the endometrium. So then the entire environment getting bigger, 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 according along with the fetal development. In the beginning, around like early 8 weeks, we call it, or 2 months, we call it embryo. And then after that, we call it fetus, right here, fetus development. And fetus development basically is beyond like 2 months toward the 9 months. You have the placenta, you have many like fluid space, several. Basically, it's beginning here, but it's become like amnion, fluid space, amniotic cavity. Amnion is the membrane, and then outside here you have a chorion membrane, and so layer of layer fluid. The fetus is developing inside of the inside of this amniotic cavity, and they will receive the nutrients, oxygen, blood supply from the placenta through placenta from mother. Yeah. So placenta is a new organ. It's a temporary, but it's generated right after, right during, right at the implantation. It's needed for implantation, and it will grow. This new organ will grow. This placenta, this new organ, mix cells from mother and the baby. So mother don't eject, don't reject this foreigner, because baby has different set of cells. So mother immune system, without well controlled by the placenta, mother immune system may attack this foreigner. But placenta set that environment to protect the baby and also nourishing the baby. Placenta also produce hormone. So after the pregnancy, in that 9 months, your original organ to produce hormone, the ovary, do not do any fertilization, do not do any follicular genesis, because you already have baby inside, so you don't really produce, you won't produce anything from it. You will basically just put them at rest, put them rest. And so there will be no menstruation at all because you have baby now. And so this organ, ovary, would not be the primary organ to produce female sex hormone. However, you need female sex hormone, right? The female body need female sex hormone and even more to be ready for having the baby. And so which organ produce the female sex hormone then? That is the placenta. So after pregnancy, placenta takes the primary role to produce female sex hormone right here. So that could be the key quiz question. Which organ is the primary organ to produce female sex hormone during pregnancy? It is placenta. Yeah. So while placenta is growing, you can imagine that more female sex hormone is going to produce. It's actually a lot more. So you have more estrogen, more progesterone. They just getting increased higher and higher. because of the growing or the enlargement of the placenta. So that is a summary of our pregnancy. You can see that it comes from the zygote. This beginning cell is called zygote. I hope right here, zygote, right here, zygote. Fertilized egg is called zygote. Yeah. So beginning from the zygote toward the embryo, about 8 weeks, 2 months, toward the fetus from 2 months from the after 2 months toward 9 months. Yeah, so that's the terminology here. We have the copulation. This is a term to describe the sex conduct to transfer sperm from male into the female. Copulation. Conception, fertilization. When after I ask about fertilization, it's not exactly copulation, but these two must occur. But fertilization refers to a success sperm meet the egg. And we don't know because that's inside the body. So we can estimate by knowing when was your last menstruation and just add about 14 days from that. You estimate that will be your fertilization day. Fertilization and conception is the same thing, meaning that sperm and egg meet each other. It's the beginning of the life. Pregnancy or gestational age, gestation time, pregnancy time is about the time of this embryo and the fetus develop inside of the mother's body. Embryo refer to the baby in the first 2 months. Fetus is one beyond 2 months toward the final. 38 weeks is the ideal one. Before 36 is kind of like, I remember 35 and before is like preterm baby, which is not good. We rather to wait until baby like full term because now baby has a lung because inside of the uterus, baby do not develop lung. Lung is not ready yet because baby doesn't breathe. But you need baby to develop lung well enough so it can live outside of the uterus. Parturition is trying to give the birth of the baby. So that summarizes everything we need to know about the reproductive system. And I hope it helped. Everything we need to know about the anatomy of the reproductive system. And I hope it helped. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.